I am sitting in the living room watching Fidela nurse our daughter Lily. The afternoon sunlight filters through the curtains, casting a golden glow over everything. This moment feels sacred, like something I have dreamed about for years. A small family, a loving wife, a healthy baby girl. Everything I ever wanted is right here in this room. But then my phone buzzes. A text from my mother. Just one short sentence, but it sends a chill down my spine. She wants to meet both of us this weekend to discuss something important about Harper and about Lily. I thought I had moved past everything my sister did to me. I was wrong. Before I continue, let me know where you are watching from today, and please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Now let me take you back to my wedding day where everything started to fall apart. I grew up in a middle-class family in the suburbs of Chicago. My father, Gerald, worked as a plant manager at a manufacturing company. My mother, Linda, was an elementary school teacher who retired a few years ago. From the outside, we looked like the perfect American family. 2 kids, a nice house, a dog in the backyard. But inside our home, there was always an unspoken truth that everyone knew, but nobody acknowledged. My older sister, Harper, was the favorite. Harper is 4 years older than me. Growing up, she was everything parents dream of. Beautiful, smart, popular, talented. She was the homecoming queen, the valedictorian, the star of every school play. I remember sitting in the audience at her graduation watching my parents beam with pride as she walked across the stage. When it was my turn to graduate 4 years later with a full scholarship to study software engineering, my parents simply nodded and said, "Congratulations." No party, no tears of joy, just a quiet acknowledgement that I had done what was expected. I learned early on not to expect too much. When Harper got her first promotion at her marketing firm, my mother organized a celebration dinner at our favorite restaurant. When I landed my dream job at a tech company in the city, I got a text message that said, "Good job." I never resented Harper for this. It was not her fault that our parents saw her as the golden child, but I did learn to find validation within myself to be proud of my accomplishments without needing anyone else to recognize them. Then I met Fidela. It happened at a coffee shop near my apartment. I was 26 years old, exhausted from a long week at work and desperately in need of caffeine. Fidela was sitting at a table by the window reading a thick novel. I was not paying attention and somehow managed to knock my entire cup of coffee onto her table. I expected anger, maybe some yelling. Instead, she looked up at me with the most beautiful brown eyes I had ever seen and laughed. She told me I had just done her a favor because she hated that book anyway. We talked for 3 hours that day. By the end of it, I knew she was special. Fidela was unlike anyone I had ever known. She was a nurse at the children's hospital, the kind of person who genuinely cared about everyone she met. She grew up in a small apartment with her parents, immigrants from the Philippines, who worked multiple jobs to give their children a better life. Her family did not have much money, but they had so much love. The first time I had dinner at her parents' house, her mother hugged me like I was already family. Her father shook my hand and told me to take care of his daughter. It was the warmest welcome I had ever received. After 2 years of dating, I knew I wanted to spend the rest of my life with Fidela. I proposed to her at the park where we had our first official date down on one knee with a ring that took me 6 months to save for. She said yes before I even finished asking the question, but not everyone was happy about our engagement. Harper made her feelings clear from the beginning. She told me privately that she thought Fidela was not good enough for our family. She pointed out that Fidela was just a nurse, that her parents did not have impressive careers, that she did not come from money. I defended Fidela, told Harper she was being a snob, but my sister just shrugged and said she was only looking out for me. At family gatherings, Harper would ask Fidela pointed questions about her salary, her family's immigration status, her plans for the future. The questions were always phrased politely, but the intention was clear. She wanted Fidela to feel small. I confronted my parents about it multiple times. My mother always said Harper was just being protective. My father told me I was being too sensitive. Nobody ever told Harper to stop. Our wedding was scheduled for June, an outdoor ceremony at a beautiful vineyard in Napa Valley. Fidela had dreamed of a wedding like this since she was a little girl. We spent months planning every detail from the flowers to the music to the menu. It was going to be perfect. The morning of the wedding, I was getting ready in the groom's suite when my best man, Tyler, pulled me aside. He had a strange look on his face. He told me I needed to see something. We walked to the entrance of the venue, and there was Harper stepping out of her car in a floor-length white dress. Not ivory, not cream, pure, bright, unmistakable white, the same color as a wedding gown. I felt my blood pressure rise, but I told myself to stay calm. Maybe she did not realize. Maybe it was just a bad choice. I decided to let it go and focus on marrying the woman I loved. The ceremony was beautiful. Fidela walked down the aisle, looking like an angel, and I could not stop the tears from falling. We exchanged vows, promised to love each other through everything life threw at us, and kissed as husband and wife. For those few moments, I forgot about Harper entirely. Then came the reception. As the maid of honor, Harper was expected to give a toast. She stood up, champagne glass in hand, and began speaking. At first, it seemed normal. She talked about watching me grow up, about our childhood memories, but then her tone shifted. She started telling embarrassing stories from my past, things I had told her in confidence, moments I had hoped to forget. The crowd's laughter felt uncomfortable, forced. Then she looked directly at Fidela and made a comment about how some people are lucky enough to marry into families that can provide for them. The implication was clear. She was calling my wife a gold digger. She finished her speech by bursting into tears, saying she felt like she was losing her little brother. Several guests rushed to comfort her. My parents looked at her with sympathy. Meanwhile, Fidela sat next to me, her face pale, trying to hold back tears. But the worst was yet to come. An hour later, I heard a crash from the other side of the reception area. I ran over to find our 3-tier wedding cake completely destroyed on the ground. Harper was standing nearby, her hand over her mouth, saying she had accidentally bumped into the table. The cake that Fidela's mother had spent weeks helping us design, the cake that was supposed to be the centerpiece of our celebration, was now a pile of frosting and crumbs on the grass. I wanted to believe it was an accident. I really did. But a week later, when the venue sent us footage from their security cameras, I saw the truth. Harper had looked around to make sure nobody was watching, then deliberately pushed the table. It was not an accident. It was sabotage. I found Fidela in the bridal suite after the cake incident, sitting alone in her beautiful white dress, now stained with frosting. She was crying quietly, trying not to let anyone hear. I held her in my arms and promised her that I would handle this, that things would be different. A week after our honeymoon, I called my parents and told them everything. I showed them the security footage. I explained how Harper had worn white, how she had humiliated Fidela in her toast, how she had deliberately destroyed our wedding cake. I expected them to be shocked, to apologize, to promise they would talk to Harper. Instead, my mother sighed and said I needed to understand that Harper was going through a difficult time. Her marriage to Derek was struggling. She was stressed about work. She did not mean to cause harm. My father added that holding grudges against family was childish, and that I should be the bigger person and forgive my sister. But the comment that hurt the most came from my mother. She said that maybe if I had included Harper more in the wedding planning, she would not have felt so left out. She was blaming me for my sister's behavior. That was the moment I realized my parents would never see the truth. In their eyes, Harper could do no wrong, and I was always the one who needed to compromise. I made a decision that day. I would limit my contact with my family. Not cut them off entirely, but create enough distance to protect myself and my wife. Fidela supported me completely. She understood. For the next 2 years, life was good. Fidela and I built our own little world. We bought a small apartment in the city, adopted a golden retriever named Biscuit, and took a vacation every year to somewhere new. We were happy, genuinely happy in a way I had never experienced growing up. Then Fidela got pregnant. We had been trying for about a year. Every negative test was a small heartbreak, every period a reminder that it was not happening yet. So, when Fidela showed me that positive test, both of us standing in our tiny bathroom at 6 a.m, we held each other and cried. Our family was growing. I called my parents to share the news. My mother cried tears of joy and said she could not wait to be a grandmother. My father said he would be the best grandfather any child could ask for. For a moment, I let myself hope that maybe this baby would bring us all closer together. Harper's response was a single text message. Congratulations, nothing more. I knew why she was distant. Harper and Derek had been trying to have a baby for 5 years. They had gone through 3 rounds of IVF, spending tens of thousands of dollars each time, only to face failure after failure. I could not imagine the pain of wanting something so desperately and being denied over and over again. Despite everything she had done to me, I felt sorry for my sister. I sent her messages occasionally, asking how she was doing, offering to talk if she needed someone. She never responded. As Fidela's pregnancy progressed, the tension with my family increased. Every phone call with my mother included some mention of Harper. She asked me not to post ultrasound pictures on social media because it might upset my sister. She suggested we have a small, quiet baby shower instead of a big celebration to avoid making Harper feel bad. She told me I needed to be more sensitive to what Harper was going through. Fidela agreed to a smaller baby shower. She did not want drama. She just wanted to enjoy her pregnancy. But Harper showed up anyway. She was not on the guest list, but she walked into the venue like she owned the place. She did not talk to anyone, just sat in a corner with a glass of sparkling water, watching everything with an unreadable expression. I kept an eye on her, waiting for something to happen. It did. When Fidela started opening gifts surrounded by friends and family who loved her, Harper suddenly stood up. Her voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. She said it must be nice to have everything handed to you so easily while others suffer. Then she walked out without another word. The room fell silent. Everyone stared at Fidela, who was holding a tiny onesie someone had just given her, her hands trembling. And my mother, instead of staying to comfort her pregnant daughter-in-law, ran out the door after Harper. I watched her go, and something inside me broke. Lily arrived on a cold November morning. Fidela was in labor for 20 hours. There were moments when I thought I might lose her, when the baby's heart rate dropped and doctors rushed in with serious faces. I had never been so terrified in my life. But then just when they were preparing for an emergency cesarean, everything changed. Fidela found the strength for one final push, and suddenly there she was, our daughter, Lily. The doctor placed her on Fidela's chest, and I watched my wife's face transform into something I had never seen before. Pure, overwhelming love. I was crying so hard I could barely see. This tiny human, this perfect little girl was ours. My parents came to the hospital later that day. They brought flowers and a stuffed teddy bear. My mother held Lily, and tears rolled down her cheeks. She said Lily was beautiful, that she looked just like me when I was born. My father stood beside her, his eyes soft in a way I rarely saw. For a brief moment, holding my daughter while my parents looked on, I let myself believe that everything would be okay. The first 3 months of parenthood were the hardest and most rewarding of my life. Fidela and I survived on almost no sleep, taking turns with night feedings and diaper changes at all hours. There were moments of exhaustion so profound I could not remember my own name. But then Lily would smile at me, that gummy, toothless grin, and everything was worth it. Fidela was incredible. Even while recovering from childbirth, even while breastfeeding around the clock, she started working part-time from home again. She never complained. She just kept going, kept loving, kept being the amazing woman I had married. My company allowed me to work remotely so I could help with the baby. We found our rhythm, imperfect but beautiful. Our little family of 3 plus Biscuit the dog in our small apartment in the city. Then the text message arrived. It was from my mother. She wanted me and Fidela to come to their house that weekend. She said they needed to discuss something important about Harper and about Lily. Fidela looked at me with worry in her eyes. She asked what I thought my mother wanted. I told her I did not know, but I had a bad feeling. That Sunday afternoon, we drove to my parents' house. Lily was asleep in her car seat, peaceful and unaware of what was about to happen. When we walked in, I saw that Harper and Derek were already there. The atmosphere was thick with tension. We all sat down in the living room. My mother clasped her hands together and said that family needed to support each other, especially during difficult times. Harper had been through so much. She said it broke her heart to see her daughters suffer. My father continued. He explained that Harper and Derek had decided not to try IVF anymore. The emotional and financial toll was too great. They had looked into adoption, but the process was long and uncertain. They needed another solution. Then my mother said something that stopped my heart. She said that since Fidela and I were young and healthy, we could have more children in the future. So the family had been thinking, and maybe we could share Lily with Harper. Not give her away completely, but let Harper co-parent. Let Lily stay with Harper a few days a week. Let her be involved in all decisions about Lily's upbringing. Let Lily call both Fidela and Harper her mother. I stared at my mother. I asked her to repeat what she had just said, certain I had misunderstood. She repeated it. They wanted us to share our daughter with Harper. Harper spoke up then. She said this was her chance to be a mother, something she deserved after everything she had been through. She said it was not fair that I had everything while she had nothing. I looked at Fidela. She was clutching Lily to her chest, her face, white tears streaming down her cheeks. My wife, who had labored for 20 hours to bring our daughter into the world, my wife who had been humiliated and dismissed by my family for years, they were asking her to give up her child. I stood up. My voice was steady but firm. I told them this would never happen. Lily was our daughter, not a possession to be shared, not a toy to pass around. What they were asking was insane. My mother started crying. She called me selfish. She said, Harper was my sister. That family helped each other, that I owed Harper this. My father's face turned red with anger. He said I had always been self-centered, that I never cared about anyone but myself, that I was tearing the family apart. I looked at them both. Then I reminded them of everything Harper had done. The white dress at my wedding, the humiliating toast, the destroyed cake, the scene at the baby shower, years of belittling my wife. I asked them when, in all that time, had anyone in this family ever cared about my feelings or Fidela's feelings. Derek sat silently through all of this, staring at the floor. He did not agree with this plan. I could see it in his face, but he said nothing. I made my decision. I told my parents that if this was how our family worked, then we would no longer be part of it. Fidela and I stood up. She held Lily close, protective, fierce. We walked out of the house where I grew up, and I did not look back. The days after that confrontation were some of the darkest of my life. I had not just lost my relationship with my parents. I had lost the hope that we could ever be a real family. Fidela was my anchor. On the nights when I could not sleep, when I lay awake wondering if I had done the right thing, she held me and reminded me why we made that choice. We were protecting our daughter. We were protecting ourselves. That was not selfish. That was survival. Lily was my reason to keep going. Every morning, I would pick her up from her crib and look into her eyes, and I would remember what mattered. This little girl deserved parents who would fight for her. She deserved to grow up in a home filled with love, not obligation. My mother sent me messages over the following weeks. She said I was destroying the family. She said I would regret this. I did not respond to any of them. Fidela and I started seeing a therapist together. We needed help processing everything that had happened. The therapist helped me understand that setting boundaries was not cruel. It was necessary. She helped me see that I had spent my entire life trying to earn love that was never freely given. It was time to stop. Fidela's family became my family. Her parents welcomed me with open arms the way they always had. Her mother would come over to help with Lily, cooking Filipino dishes and singing lullabies in Tagalog. Her father would sit with me on the porch, not saying much, just being there. They showed me what unconditional love looked like. Our friends stepped up too. Tyler and his wife became Lily's unofficial aunt and uncle. My coworker Amanda threw us a second baby shower, a small gathering just for people who genuinely cared about us. I realized that family was not just about blood. Family was about choice. I also learned to forgive myself. For a long time, I wondered if I had been too harsh, if I should have tried harder to make things work. But gradually I understood that I had done what any good parent would do. I had protected my child. There was no shame in that. 3 months after we walked out of my parents' house, Derek called me. He apologized. He said he had not agreed with the plan to share Lily, but he had been too afraid to speak up. He told me that he and Harper were separating. Their marriage had been broken for a long time, held together only by the shared hope of having a child. Without that hope, there was nothing left. A few weeks later, I received a letter from Harper. It was long, handwritten on several pages. She did not apologize directly, but she admitted things. She admitted that she had been jealous of me for years, jealous that I seemed happy while she felt empty despite having everything society said she should want. She admitted that she had let her pain turn into cruelty. She said she was starting therapy, trying to become a better person. I read the letter several times. I did not know how to feel. I was not ready to forgive her, not yet, but appreciated that she was finally being honest. My father called me a month after that. His voice was different, softer. He said he missed me. He missed his granddaughter. He admitted that he and my mother had been wrong to ask what they asked. They had been so focused on Harper's pain that they forgot about mine. I thanked him for calling. I told him I needed more time. Some wounds take longer to heal than others. Now a year has passed since that terrible Sunday. Lily just took her first steps last week, wobbling across the living room floor into my arms. Fidela and I are still in our little apartment, still happy, still figuring out parenthood one day at a time. I have seen my parents a few times. We meet at a coffee shop or a park neutral ground. The conversations are short, careful. We are rebuilding slowly, but with clear boundaries this time. They understand now that Lily is our daughter, that our family has rules they must respect. Harper and I have not spoken directly. She is still in therapy, still working on herself. Maybe one day we will find our way back to each other. Maybe we will not. I have made peace with either outcome. What I have learned from all of this is simple but profound. Family does not give you permission to be mistreated. Love does not mean tolerating cruelty. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away, not because you do not care, but because you care enough about yourself and your family to protect them. If you are watching this and you are in a similar situation, I want you to know that you are not alone. You are not wrong for setting boundaries. You are not selfish for refusing to be hurt. Your peace matters. Your happiness matters. And sometimes the family that truly loves you is the family you build, not the family you were born into. So I ask you today, have you ever had to set a difficult boundary with someone you love? How did you find the strength to do it? Share your story in the comments below. And if this video resonated with you, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who might need to hear it. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for being part of this community. I wish you peace, I wish you strength, and I wish you a family, whether by blood or by choice that loves you the way you deserve to be loved.